We started our walk in Scratby. You can see Scratby Sands Wind Farm in the background there. And the wind has been very high recently, with the beast from the east returning over the last week. And the tides have been high, the tides have been coming in very close, and the beach has just been strewn with debris from those high winds. So we had a walk along the beach and found various things that we wouldn't normally see. So it was quite shocking to see that the Scratby end of the beach was like this. I think a lot of it obviously has blown down from Hemsby, where people really sadly are losing their homes. And we wanted to go for a walk along this bit of coastline just to show people what's actually happening. Now, being an artist, obviously, I liked these were interesting textures for me, but not things I want to see on the beach. You know, these are things from people's homes. Looking up at the coastline in Scratby, you know, it's a bit safer than Hemsby because it's more shored up with shrubbery. This was a telephone pole that had come down, obviously from Hemsby End. And as we continue to walk, we just found more and more. An old palm tree that had come down from someone's garden. Lots of tangled branches and old roots. Now, we do know that a lot of people have been throwing grass cuttings, any old garden rubbish over the edge of the cliff, just as a help, you know, to try and get that shrubbery established along the actual cliff line, to try and give the sand something hot, something to cling on to. But this is something that the residents have had to do themselves because they haven't been getting as much support as they need. It's really sad to see that, you know, this part of our coast is eroding away, and it's something that everyone needs to care about, because if they don't, then we're just losing more and more of our land. So here we found what looked to be like an old fence or an old door in a fence, and this isn't the sort of thing we want to be seeing on the beach. You know, the beach changes all the time, which is amazing to go and witness. You know, sometimes the beach is really pebbly, sometimes it's really sandy. It's lovely to go and see that difference all the time, but we do not want to be seeing people's homes on the beach. And this was a tree. You know, nature is so amazing, but we don't want to be seeing trees on the beach. This is just such a massive thing that's been ripped out of the ground, and this local area needs everyone's support, and thankfully I think they are getting a little bit of help now. But it takes two sessions of, well, two massive storms that have destroyed people's lives. This happened 10 years ago in the 2013 storm, when people lost their homes then. They had, you know, people actually lost their homes to the sea. And there's so much power in that ocean that it can rip down huge trees. I mean, when we lived here previously, we used to love going for walks along this coastline, and we would walk past these very trees up on the Marrams in Hemsby, which is now completely different. It's before there were like houses on both sides of a road along the coastline, and now one whole side of houses has gone and the road is falling onto the beach. Obviously part of that coastline here, and you can see even these areas, which are a bit further set back, are starting to be pulled down. And it was just so sad to see things like this, you know, things that shouldn't be on the beach, people's belongings that are just sitting there, you know, telling their story, old brick walls that have come down that are there for someone to explore, but you know, these were people's homes. So we're going to continue walking along. A tyre on the beach is just not something you want to see, but there were a lot of people. Obviously you can't see it in this particular part of the beach, but there are a lot of people that were interested in coming down and having a look and seeing what was, you know, what had happened following the latest storm. And you know, I think these people care. I don't think it's like a morbid curiosity. I think people do generally care about this coastline, that live on it. And you know, you've got dog walkers that come down here every day, and to be honest, it was a bit dangerous at this point, because there were like lots of debris that had screws and nails sticking out of it, and I'm sure the council have started clearing it away now. But you know, if you are going to look at things like this, do definitely be careful with young children and animals, because obviously they're not aware of the dangers. And we've got here, I think approaching here was a water tank, we thought, that must have come down from somebody's home up on the cliff. And obviously objects like this are really dangerous as well. Serrated edges, you know, it's rusting away. If you cut yourself on this, you've got rust on there and all sorts. It's very dangerous for animals and young children. So, you know, you just have to be respectful and careful when you're dealing with situations like this and exploring what's going on your coastline. Now, obviously, there's, you know, you can see the waves crashing in there. It was fairly windy this day, but like after this day, it got even worse again. We had really, really high winds. You can see there's benches perched on the cliff. You know, we were wondering at the time how much longer these were going to be there for people to enjoy. And this is we're not quite in the most hit part of Hemsby at this point, but you can see there's still that line of debris all the way along the beach, which would normally be clear. You can usually never see any of this. And actually at this point we began to notice that the height of the sand, it's kind of almost forming more of a ridge again towards the back, which is what's happened in Hemsby. There's basically too much of a drop now that even the lifeboat service can't actually get out, because it's just too dangerous. I think it's about a 7-foot drop. It might even be higher than that. I think it might be about 3 meters actually. So the actual way the sand lies is changing. This used to be quite a sort of flat piece of beach that used to have like a sort of inlet towards the top of the beach that would have a big pool of water, so you know, you could almost paddle through it. And obviously here we've found presumably old war defences coming through, which we know are coming up further up in Hemsby by the main area of the beach. We've never seen this before on any previous walks on this particular bit of coastline. So, you know, it's kind of pushing the sand further back. Obviously we've got that sea defence there, which before was not so sort of chiselled out. There was more of a sort of bank from the bottom of these out towards the sea. So again, these are having more pressure put upon them because of that sort of cliff edge almost that's forming under them. So I hope this is making sense. It's just my ramblings, you know, my observations, but so there it is. The sea, you know, it's going to keep finding a way to chip away at the coastline, and you know, it's beautiful to go and walk along, but we also have to think of the impact that it has. And obviously these sea defences here are starting to topple slightly. So at this point we realised we couldn't carry on walking to Hemsby, because obviously the tide is very close to the sea defences, and also the sea defences are, you know, have warning signs on them now to not get too close, because they are starting to fall forward a little bit. So we walked up through Newport and into Hemsby, and we went to go and get some footage there. And part of our walk up, now we went back up, obviously, like I said, to head towards Newport, and this is the view from the cliff top. Looks beautiful out there today, and you know, it is beautiful, but people need to realise that there is a sad element to all this too. Now, looking over here, this is part of the Marams that used to be quite densely covered with with shrubbery. Now this is back in Hemsby now, where the beach is closed off, so you can't walk through there. So we walked through the Dunes car park, which is sadly where the houses are being demolished, and obviously we know this is a person's home, and we want to be respectful. We're not showing this to, you know, just because it's big news at the moment, or because we want to see someone's home destroyed, but we want to show that, you know, this is someone's livelihood, life that's been affected. And you know, how would you feel if your home was being ripped up? And a lot of the time, you know, this is all they have. How can people afford to buy a new house? I don't know. I've heard that obviously it's going to be difficult to get insurance on a place that's very close to the sea, but if these people have lived here a long time, then, you know, they were told that they had maybe 40, 50, depending on when they bought the property, maybe even 100 years before this would happen. But we've been losing metres worth of this coastline in like a storm, you know. This is a view down from Hemsby Beach, and showing you the work continuing hours later, bringing those houses down, and you can see there some of the debris falling down onto the cliff. And obviously, like I say, this happened 10 years ago in 2013. We had actual houses that were washed into the sea, and being a teacher, I actually moved back to the Midlands and talked to some of my children about what was happening. We actually included it into a topic, and they were absolutely fascinated by it. They could not believe it. Having lived, you know, living in the Midlands and being so far from the sea, you just couldn't compute these sort of ideas that somebody might lose their house to the sea. And yeah, they were fascinated by it. Now here we're looking at that cliff face that's formed where you would normally just be able to walk onto the beach, and there were people standing on there. They shouldn't have been doing that. I think they snuck round the corner. So you can see there the lifeboat station is in red and blue. They can't get their lifeboat out. There's just that cliff drop, and then you've got all the old sea defences that are showing through from the war as well. Now these blue tubs were all the way along the Marams, and they had a massive piece of dune between them. You've got road that's falling down there. So the road has come down. All the dune that was this side has gone. And now we've got a house that is, again, in peril on the edge of the cliff. This would have been the next one to go. You know, you've got remnants just sitting on the beach that are alien to this landscape. They should be up on the cliff. They shouldn't be sunken into the beach. So here's that house again. Now luckily, since we filmed this, the man that owns this has actually had help in moving his house back, and I think this is the second time he's had to do this. And we're so pleased that he's managed to do that. And obviously, I don't know if they're going to be able to offer more support, but I know they are bringing in more defences for this area as a temporary measure. But they need that help and support to get things in place that are going to last longer. We've got massive trees again, telephone poles that have come down. This would have been an area where the road was running along, and really this support should have been offered after 2013. This should have all been shored up by now and have proper coastal defences in place, because houses were falling in the sea back then. Now there was a lot of locals that clubbed together. I know the lady that runs the Lake and Arms was heading that up, and still is 10 years on, for fundraising by local residents. But they shouldn't have to be doing that on their own. They should be getting lots of support from the government. Needs to be, or the local council need to be thinking about all this. Again, more houses. This telephone pole is being secured. It's being having like a support put in, so this doesn't come down next. And I think the problem is, from what I can gather, there's issues between local council, the landowners, which are a local charity set up for a prominent businessman in the Norwich area, who actually own the Marhams and the beach area. So it's just a backwards and forwards between the local council, the owners, and the MMO, which is I think the Marine Management Organisation. It's that whole thing of these three people have got to try and come together and put in a solution for these people, because they need help. There's only so much you can do as a local community. This needs massive funding, but we can't grow more land. We need to save the land that we've got. Sorry, this is turning into a bit of a rant, but it's frustrating. So we walked back back from Hemsby through to Scratby. We could do this time because the tide had gone out, and being a lover of the beach and walking, we just documented some more things we could find. Some old World War II defences that are reappearing. You saw the pillbox a while back, and we've got such an interesting landscape across our country, our coastlines, our forests. So we need to protect it all. And this was something I hadn't seen before as well. Lots of starfish have been washed up onto the beach in the storm. And it's just so sad to see what can happen. But this is nature, and we need to be able to live alongside it, and put things in place to make sure that we're safe, but we're also not damaging it. And the seagulls were having a great time. They obviously enjoyed the starfish and all the different shells, cockles and things that were being washed up, because they were pecking away at it all. So yeah, it was quite an emotional day for us this day, and I do hope this has made some people realise what's happening on our coastline. And what I'll do is I'll pop up some information for anyone that is interested in supporting Hemsby a little bit further with fundraising. I'll leave you here with a nice bit of footage on a calmer day before this storm hit, and you can see the beach is a lot clearer. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. Please do stay interested in this kind of topic. It's going to be happening across the country. I know Suffolk are struggling too, in our local area. So yeah, keep reading more about it, support it, and keep enjoying the beaches and the lovely sea. Thanks guys, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one.